Hey gang, Math 1700, well it used to be 1700, it's now called Math 1170. This is the finite math course, the online section taught in the summer 2016. My name is Doug Darbro. You have my contact information and my office hours listed on the syllabus. Much like I would do in a face-to-face class, the first class period, I would typically go through the syllabus and point out some important class policies and just some things of interest. So that's what I want to do here. I think this is an extremely important video. I know in my face-to-face classes, a lot of people trick themselves into thinking, well, I don't need to go to class the first day because all the professor is going to do is talk about the syllabus. I think that's pretty dumb. I think that there's a lot of important stuff that's going to be covered in the first day of class, and in this case the first video. So guys, hang in there. This is going to be a little dry, but hang in there and we'll go over some important stuff. Okay, guys, my name is Doug Darbro. Again, my office is 113 ADM in Administration Building. My office, my email is ddarbro@shawnee.edu. For an online course, I think it's extremely important that you check email more than you possibly typically do. So if you don't check email much, I think while taking an online course, you need to check it at least 1 to 2 times per day. Software requirements, ladies and gentlemen, this is an online course. I had a student last fall in this very course. Well, let's get the focus back. There we go. A student in this very course that signed up for an online course, and about 2/3 of the way through, she said, this isn't working very well for me. She said, I really don't have a computer, and I don't have reliable internet connection. And in sitting there talking to her, I could not understand why she signed up for an online course. To me, it goes without saying that if you're going to take an online course, you need internet service and a computer. That said, I've had students before who have taken an online course and they go to the library and they watch the videos and submit the online assignments, and that's perfectly fine. You may even go to a public library. But guys, you need reliable, regular internet access and access to a computer before you should ever consider taking an online course. Let me go ahead and talk about that a little bit. The dean came to me about 2 years ago and said, Doug, we want to offer a couple of undergraduate courses online. What 2 courses do you think would be good to teach? And the first 2 courses that came to mind were the statistics. Back then it was Math 1500, now it's Stat 1150. And this one. I didn't know how it would work. Online courses have a completely different manner in which the material is presented. But I can tell you the 1170, my success rates are higher in this course when it's presented online than it is when I teach it in the classroom. And guys, I wrote this course back in 1997, 98, probably before some of you were maybe even born. I actually wrote this course. So I've taught this course a lot. And anyway, I'm just very, very pleased with the results for this class. So it's working well, and I hope it works well for you. Catalog description, course objectives. I'm not going to read this stuff to you, but it's just a formal presentation of what I'm going to teach you. Guys, there's not a textbook required. It doesn't mean that there's nothing that's required for the class. It just means that a physical textbook isn't required. What is required is the online course management system that you can get one of 2 ways. First of all, you can get it by going to the bookstore and buying the activation code, or you can access MyMathLab at www.mymathlab.com. And when you sign up for the class, it's important that you have the course code, which is provided there. This information is always also provided on Blackboard, which I'll show you in just a second. Now, it's really important. From time to time, people say, well, I'm waiting on my financial aid, and I can't get the first assignment in because it's going to be a week or two before I get my financial aid. Well, no, that's not the issue. There's a 14-day trial course access option that you need to go ahead and sign up for if you are waiting on financial aid. If you are, let me know, and I'll call financial aid and have them keep me updated on your account. But in the meantime, go ahead and sign up for the 14-day free course access option. Guys, there's no reason not to get your first assignment submitted on time, which we'll talk about later, because you do have this option. If you're waiting on money, short on funds, whatever the situation may be, there is that option. Guys, calculators required. This is a no-brainer. We're going to get into some things called linear programming and Markov chains, and I'm going to show you some really cool things about financial mathematics. And the TI-8384 calculator is required for those operations. ADA statement, if this applies to you, let me know, and I'll do everything in my power to make sure that those accommodations that you're entitled to by law are provided to you. One thing to keep in mind for ADA, for the accommodations, some of it deals with testing. So you're going to have a decision to make whether or not you want to take your testing, whether you want to take your test in the Student Success Center or whether you want to take the test with me. The advantage to taking it with me is if you have problems with the calculator, I'm going to be there to help you. If you're taking it in the Student Success Center, I'm not going to be there to help you. So that's just a decision that you have to make on your own. Guys, there are 2 mandatory on-campus sessions. Those are for testing. Your testing must be in a proctored environment, a proctored situation. The easiest way to accomplish that is come to campus on June the 20th. Drop in anytime from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. and take your midterm. Your midterm will take about an hour to 90 minutes. You can't start before 10. You can't go beyond 2. So if you can take the test in 10 minutes, you can show up at 1:50. You're going to have 10 minutes to take your exam. I wouldn't advise that. Now, what if you went home for the summer and you have no intention on coming back to Portsmouth to take the test? What you'll need to do there is you'll need to sign up with a testing center somewhere in your area. Now, they usually charge a fee, and I've seen the fees range anywhere from $35 to $75. $75 was in LA, so that's not very typical around here. But I had a student who was back home in Los Angeles last summer and needed to take his exams, and they were charging $75 out there. I had another student who was from Cleveland, and she got, I think it was at maybe Cleveland State. Again, I'm not really sure, but they only charged her $35, which is, far and above beats the gas and time it would take to drive back to campus. But guys, go ahead and get on that. If you're not going to be around on June 20th or July 25th, you either need to contact me about rescheduling your exams, or you need to take these things at another testing site. Guys, well, that says statistics. That shouldn't say statistics. That should say finite math. I did some copy pasting and it didn't work out well. If finite math can be challenging too, as well as statistics, the best thing to do is come to see me during office hours, or I have 2 graduate assistants that I will provide their information a little bit later, that you can go see them. So, guys, in a nutshell, when you calculate your final grade, 40% of it is calculated from the midterm, 40% of it is calculated from the final exam, and 20% is calculated from the online assignments that we take on MyMathLab. Speaking of the assignments on MyMathLab, the good news, there's no limit. You can attempt these as many times as you like. You can attempt the problem. There's a due date, but you can attempt the problems as many times as you want. So there's no restriction on the number of times that you attempt each problem. Assignments that are not submitted by the due date, and I'll talk about that down here in just a second, you lose 50% of the credit on the questions that weren't submitted on time. Now that's a little bit confusing, but let's just say that you only got to half of the assignment before it was due and you got everything correct. Well, you're not going to lose the credit on those problems, those half of the problems. But let's say the other half you submit after the due date, but you get everything right. So you would get the 50% there, but because it's late, you would only get half credit. So you would get a 75% score on the overall assignment. You get the full credit for the part that you turned in on time. You get the half credit for the part that you submit after the due date. The reason I do this is, guys, I want you to stay on track. I have found in teaching this class that students who get behind have a hard time catching up. Now, one of the things about summer classes is the pace is intense. If you think about it, in a fall, spring semester, including finals, we have 16 weeks to cover the material. In a summer class, I have 9 weeks. Well, essentially 10 weeks if you count the one day that we meet the 10th week to take your final exam. So you almost, not quite, but you almost get double the material in a week that you would get in a fall, spring. It's doable. My success rates last summer for 1,700, now 1,170, were just fine. They were good. Most students got through with C or higher. But it's just it's a little busier. Okay. So assignments not submitted by the due date reduced by 50% only on the questions that aren't submitted by the due date. No assignment can be submitted 1 week beyond the due date. So let's say, for example, you have an assignment that's due May the 30th, which you will, and you don't get that submitted, you will only have until the next Monday, which is June the 6th, to submit it. After that, this assignment can no longer be submitted. So essentially, you have 2 weeks to submit the assignment. You have 1 week to submit it with no penalty. You have the extra week to submit it with a 50% penalty on the assignment questions that you submit after the due date. Guys, all assignments, including assignment number 1, which again I will talk about in just a second, are due on a Monday. If you submit all assignments, including assignment number 1, again, just hold on, I'll talk about all that in just a second, by the due date, you will have 10% added to your homework average. So guys, let's say that you go through all the homework assignments and your final average is an 82. If you submitted all of these on time, I'll add 10% to that to give you a 92%. Even better than that, if all assignments, including assignment number 1, are submitted by their due date, and your midterm exam score is lower than your final exam score, then I'll replace the midterm with your final exam score. This does not work in reverse. Okay, let me show you how this happens. Student has a hard time getting accustomed to the online learning, and actually this happened to me last semester, and got a 48% on the midterm. He came in and met with me, and he said, yeah, this kind of caught me off guard, but I feel like I can do this. Do you think I should drop the class or stay with it? And I said, I think you should stick with the class if you realize that what you're currently doing isn't working. He completely changed what he was doing, and I don't remember exactly, but I'm pretty sure he got an 84% on his final exam. He had submitted all the assignments on time, nothing late. So this 48 was replaced by the 84, so he had an 84 and an 84 to average instead of an 84 and a 48. Guys, this does not work in reverse. If you get an 84 here and a 48 here, you're stuck with the 48. My rationale for doing this is, number one, to motivate you to get your assignments turned in on time. But secondly, I feel if you leave the class having mastered the material, even though you didn't get it earlier in the semester, you left the class with 84% correct on your final exam, to me, that's important. You left the class knowing what I wanted you to know. And hopefully this is a 90 or 95 or 100, whatever it may be. But anyway, you left the class knowing what I wanted you to know. You didn't get it early, but you did get it late. Again, the reverse does not work. Speaking of assignments, your assignment number 1, which is due within the first 2 weeks, is to send me an email and say, hey, I'm so-and-so. Tell me something about you. Tell me where you're from. Just tell me whatever you really want to tell me. By doing that, you will get 100 points on your first assignment. If you stop by my office and introduce yourself in person, then I'll give you an extra 20 points on this first assignment. So guys, it is reasonable that you could start out with 120 out of 100 points on the first assignment. Now your second assignment, which is which is realistically your first, real content assignment, has already been posted. I'll show you that in just a second. It's due next Monday, May 30th at 5 o'clock p.m. Next Monday, you've got another assignment due at 5 p.m. The next Monday, I think I said Sunday, I meant Monday. The next Monday, you have another assignment due at 5 p.m. The next Monday is when you take your midterm. This assignment is due at 10. All the assignments are due at 5 except on the Mondays that you take your midterm and your final. So boys and girls, there's no reason to sit there and say, well, I didn't know we had an assignment due this Monday. You have an assignment due every Monday. So there's none of this stuff. I didn't know we had an assignment. I didn't understand. That was confusing. That can't be confusing. You have an assignment due every single Monday that is due at 5 o'clock, except for the days that you take your midterm and your final exam, and those are due at 10 a.m. Okay? Each of these are worth 100 points. Guys, a couple of class policies. Class policies are kind of weird because we're not in class. This is online, but cell phones are not permitted when you take an exam, and if you miss an exam, then documentation is required for a makeup. Documentation would be something that indicates, validates, if you will, an official university excuse. Just one more time, if you need to take your midterm or final exam off campus, then you're required to take it at a testing center. Guys, let me say this one more time. Exams must be proctored. That's the only way. When I submitted this class to the Distance Learning Committee, the one thing that they required is that all exams would be taken face-to-face and in a proctored environment. And that should make a lot of sense why they wanted that to happen. So guys, a tentative schedule. Again, it comes at you pretty quickly. 10 weeks, and really it's 9 weeks because the last week the only thing you do is take your final exam. So but it's doable. Trust me, I have students that did it last summer. Now, what's a typical week going to look like? First of all, by 10 o'clock on Mondays, for most week, I'll have all the videos posted on Blackboard, and I'll show you how to access those in just a second. Your MyMath, that'll give you Mondays to watch the videos. Your MyMathLab assignments will be posted by 10 a.m. on Tuesdays. Your assignments are due by 5 o'clock the following Monday. So you can you can schedule this however you like, but for example, let's say that you've got an assignment due. Well, let's go back over here. on June the 13th, which you will, and let's say you're leaving on vacation then, well, submit it on the 12th, submit it on the 11th, submit it on the 10th. You can submit it anytime after it's posted. So don't call me up and say, Dr. Darber, I left for vacation on the 13th, the day that this assignment was due. Well, turn it in early. I mean, it doesn't have to be turned in at 5 o'clock on June 13th. You have almost an entire week, according to this schedule right here, to watch your videos and submit your assignments early. Okay? So, guys, I'm not a big fan of excuses. Just suck it up, do what you're supposed to do, and I think you're going to absolutely love this format. And I think most students have been very successful with this. Now, one other thing right here, I kind of glossed right over it. I set up a Facebook group. Well, let me get this refocused. Because technology isn't always perfect. And we're seeing that firsthand right here. All right, it looks like it's coming back into focus. But, teaching in class isn't always perfect either, so things happen. So, guys, Facebook group, let me get out of this and go over here to Facebook. What I've done is I've set up summer 2016 Darbo's classes. This is actually for my stats and my finite math, so I'll come in and make posts there from time to time. I did this for my fall classes. It worked really, really, really well. That's the reason I've decided to do this again. Now, let's talk a little bit about MyMathLab. All right, if you go to MyMathLab, what you see is a little different than what I see. First of all, let me take you to your page and not last semester's. All right, so you guys are right here, summer 2016. Now, when you come to this part right here, primarily, and you won't see a lot of this because this is just for instructors, but primarily when you come here, you're going to go one of two places. You'll either go to homework or you'll go to your gradebook. Gradebook, that's where I'll post all your scores, your midterm scores, your final exams, and so on and so forth. But typically when you come to MyMathLab, you're going to go to homework. When you click homework, you can see that there's already an assignment that's been posted. So once you watch the videos, which I'll show you in just a second how to access those, once you watch the videos, you can click this and you can start your assignment. So question number 1, 25 points. It says a publisher for a promising new novel figures fixed cost, yada, yada, yada. You probably don't know how to do that problem just yet, but if you watch the videos, you will. I try in the videos to work every single type of problem that you encounter on MyMathLab. So a lot of times students will say, email me, say, well, I don't know how to do this problem, I don't even know where to start. Well, that just tells me that you did not watch the videos, because the videos include examples of everything I ask you to do on MyMathLab. So you should know where to start, because in the videos I show you where to start. So again, accountability. Now let's go to Blackboard, and let me log in here, and let's go to your site, and I'll show you the way all that plays out. So you guys are 1170 summer. Now when you come here, what you want to do is you want to go to content. And you'll see content. What will happen is every week, so for the first week, May 23rd, I already have the resources set up. But right up here, getting started, you can come up and you can get a copy of the syllabus, and you get this information on how to get started with MyMathLab. So you've got the web page, step by step. You have the course code. and it even talks, shows you down at the bottom how to request a temporary access. Now, by the time you see this, there's going to be a video there, which is the one that I'm posting, and I'll have a link to that. So once you get a feel for how the class will be structured, the next thing you'll want to do is start watching the videos. So you'll click this. Video number 1, Intro to Linear Functions. You'll click it, and what it'll do, it'll take you to my YouTube page. So let's start over, because that would make sense. Maximize it, make it big, all right? And you're going to get a lecture on, now it says Math 1700, we know it's Math 1170 now, but you'll get a lecture on linear functions. Guys, these videos, these lectures that you see are almost word for word what I would tell you in a classroom. The thing that I think is kind of cool is, let's say that you're watching this, and then in a classroom, when I give calculator instructions, sometimes I go a little bit too fast and it's hard for students to write down and do the operations on their calculator. So they don't get it all down. Then when they go home and start doing the assignment, they realize that they really didn't connect on what buttons to punch on the calculator. But guys, the cool thing about this is you can stop it, you can go back and replay it, you can take screenshots, you can do all kinds of stuff that help you work the calculator. I think that's one of the reasons that my success rates now with 1170 online are actually higher than they were face-to-face, because we do a lot with the calculators, and this gives you the freedom and the power, if you will, to control that, to stop it. So guys, treat these lectures just like you would a classroom. If we were sitting face-to-face, take notes. So at the top of your notes, I would have, video, intro, linear functions, part 1. And I would take notes. That way, when you start working your homework, if there's a problem that maybe you didn't get down completely in your notes, if you've got your notes structured, you'll have a pretty good indication what video that came from, because there's 4 videos there, about 2.5 hours of videos, 2 hours, something like that. I forget exactly, maybe even 3. Maybe I work a problem in video number 3, and you watch the videos and you're like, yeah, I remember him working a problem like that, but I don't remember where it was. If you take structured notes, if you organize your notes really well, now you can look back in your notes and get a pretty good indication what video and about the time that particular problem was worked. You didn't get a good indication of that. Now, let me tell you what's tempting. What's tempting is say, the videos take too long. I'll just go directly to the to my math lab and start working the problems. Now, here's the problem with that. Sometimes in these videos, I embed goofy little quizzes. And I'll say, okay, the first 7, 8 people, 10 people, whatever I decide on, that sends me email their favorite movie, I'll give you 25 points on this quiz. It's not extra credit, it's a quiz. So if you don't get that turned in, you get 0 out of 25. If you're watching the videos, you get on email real quick and say, hey, my favorite movie is, whatever it may be, whatever your favorite movie is. And you get your 25 out of 25. Typically, I don't limit it to the first 5 or first 10, even though I may say that in some videos. Typically, I give everybody credit as long as it's submitted by the end of the week, by the, when an assignment's due, which will be in your all's case Mondays at 5 o'clock. Now, what happens a lot of time is you screw around and you try to go to my math lab and do it without watching the videos, and then you see a buddy of yours in the hall somewhere or out, whatever, and they're like, did you get that quiz submitted? And you're like, nah, man, I didn't even watch the videos. And then you come back and you try to submit it because your buddy told you. Nah, that's not going to work. Guys, this is a great way to take this class. I really do really feel that. It's just a couple things. You got to watch the videos. This is where I teach you. You got to get your assignments turned in on time. And guys, you got to come to class or come to campus for your 2 mandatory sessions to take your midterm and your final. Or, of course, you can do the testing center approach. So, gang, I guess that's about it. A lot of information. The beauty is you can rewatch this video. If there's something that's a little confusing, then rewatch the video. All right. So, guys, I'm done. Take care.